Thank you for joining us today for another exclusive interview sponsored by Imovet. Help your horses reach their maximal potential with Imovet's line of natural homeopathic products. I'm your host today, Aurelian Drumian. Today we are delighted to welcome Stuart Williams, the esteemed trainer behind the talented racehorse Quinault. We'll explore his early influences in horse racing, his motivation for becoming a trainer, and the fascinating journey of training Quinault. We'll also discuss the challenges of maintaining champion's form, strategies for upcoming races at Royal Ascot, and his insights on the evolving landscape of racehorse training. Stay tuned for an enlightening conversation with one of the top trainers in the industry. So Stuart, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your early influences in horse racing?
Well, my mother and father both moved from different parts of the country to work in Newmarket with racehorses, and I was born in Newmarket. So it's basically been in my blood from the start. I've always been around horses, and it's all I wanted to do.
Fair enough. Wow. What motivated you to pursue a career as a trainer, and how did those experiences shape your approach?
Well, basically, I wanted to be a jockey. Was my first love was riding, and I was quite tall compared to a lot of the people that were trying to pursue this profession, and I just got heavy quite quickly. So my riding career ended very shortly.
Oh my
Probably
God.
lack of talent was mixed in with that as well. So basically, I worked as a work rider. I was a work rider for some of the top stables, and I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to train just a couple of horses. And that's basically how we started. We started with a couple of horses, and we built up the stable from there.
What a very interesting transition, going from a jockey to a trainer. Can you share with us the story of when you first saw Quinault, either when he was purchased or perhaps when he arrived at your stable for training? What were your initial impressions, and how has your relationship with him evolved over the years?
Yeah, well, we bought him at the October autumn horses in training sales at Newmarket. Basically, we were looking for a used horse that we could run throughout the winter and onto the following year. And we were basically looking for horses with form. But they were so expensive, and we couldn't buy the one we wanted. And I just said to the owner, I said to Tom Morley, who owns him, look, I've spotted this horse that was with Godolphin. He's only ran the once, but he looks like a big backward horse, and it's possible that they haven't given him enough time to show his potential. He had had some time off from training with them, so when he came to the sales, he was quite unfit and more resembled a broodmare than a racehorse. So Tom took my word for the fact that I thought there was a horse in there somewhere. So basically, he'd come from the Breeze Ups originally, from the Breeze Up sales, and he cost 230,000 at the Breeze Up sales. So there was obviously some potential there that Godolphin saw to buy him at that sort of price bracket. But as I say, he'd been disappointing in his only race for them. And he had a reputation of trying to run away at home, go too fast, not being rateable, and, just doing things the wrong way around, basically. So when we got him back to the stable, we used treadmills a lot here as well. So we got a couple of treadmills, and I basically trained him on the treadmill for 3 months. And then my apprentice, Luke Catton, started riding him gently, just quietly hacking him out on his own, just keeping him nice and quiet and trying to teach him to relax that way. And it took us a couple of races. He had 2 or 3 races for us where he didn't show actually that much, but then he started to bloom.
Wow. Excellent. What race is he being aimed at during, royal meeting? Is it the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes, or maybe the Wokingham Stakes?
Yeah, well, we made both the entries. He would be guaranteed a run in the Wokingham with his weight.
Okay.
But we just thought this year there aren't any foreign horses coming over for the Jubilee, and our sprinting division here, I wouldn't say it's weak, but they kind of take it in turns to which one wins. There's no dominant horse.
All right.
So we thought it was worth making the entry. It's possible we have another race before Ascot for him, and that race will then hopefully tell us which way we go, whether we go for the handicap or we go for the Jubilee.
Okay, fair enough. And you did mention a little bit regarding, the form of Quinault. Can you just share a bit more insights into, his current form and preparation leading up to the Royal Ascot?
Yeah, so after we bought him, basically he raced all last winter. He raced on the all-weather. He ran 4 times on the all-weather. Then we started racing him on the turf, and he ran another 7, 8 times on the turf.
Wow.
Winning 7 of those races, or 6 of those races, 1 on the all-weather and 6 on the turf. So as he'd had quite a hard season, he'd gone through the winter and then through the turf season as well. We thought we'd give him a nice break. So we give him a nice break. We had 3 months off where he was turned out in a paddock on very light exercise on the horse walker and stuff like that, just completely chilling out. We got him back in January, and he came back in. He was probably about 80 kilos heavier than he was the previous year. So it's taken a little bit of time for us to get him fit.
Sure.
And he missed an intended target. The intended target was to run on 2000 Guineas Day at Newmarket.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't quite get him fit enough in the time frame to meet that deadline. So we ended up 2 weeks behind. So that's where we are with him. He kind of needed his race the first run of the year, was happy with the run. It was a little bit of a messy race, and he was slightly slow out the stalls, which is unlike him. He's usually very fast out. So as I say, I'm very happy with him since that race. He's trimmed up a lot, come forwards a lot for that run. And as I say, the plan is possibly to run him again in the John O'Gaunt Stakes at Haydock. That's next Saturday.
Okay.
That would be ground dependent now, that he wouldn't run if the ground was really soft. But the plan would be to run there and then go to one of the 2 races at Ascot.
Do you think it was important for him to have some time off?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, he'd done very little racing as a 2-year-old.
Sure.
And then in about 8, 9 months, he had 12 races. So,
wow.
Even one of the races, we ran him on Thursday and then ran him back again on the Saturday.
My goodness.
So he had 2 races in 48 hours. So, like I said, he'd worked hard last year. We didn't want to run him on the all-weather through the winter this season. So it was a good time for him to have a break. We're bringing him back with, like I said, the first real target for us is Ascot. If he improves like we hope he does, there are a lot of possibilities for him, and even some opportunities abroad that he could take up later in the season. So the plan is for him to, like I said, to start. His main target in the early part of the year is Royal Ascot, and then start building his program throughout the season from there.
Perfect. What sets him apart from other competitors in the field, and what makes him, a potential champion in the making?
Well, his attitude is very good. A couple of those races last year, he won by very short distances, and at 2 or 3 stages through the final furlong, he looked like he wasn't going to win, and he's just determined to get to the front. So, that I think that a lot of champion racehorses have that in them, that if they were in the wild, they'd be the one at the front of the herd, and I think he's got that in him. So that, plus his innate ability. He's a nice, big, strong horse, well-bred horse from a German family, and he's bred to be this good, and we're just fulfilling his potential.
Sure, of course. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Hardwick Stakes. Are there any specific training or strategies that you're trying to implement to optimize, Quinault's performance in the Hardwick Stakes?
Yeah, the Hardwick is a 1.25 mile race. We definitely won't be running the Hardwick.
Okay, okay. So you won't
So
you
yeah,
won't run this one.
that one's not on the target for
Okay,
him.
fair enough.
Yeah, so it's a 4-year-old. It's a Group 1 4-year-old plus 10 furlong race. So definitely not on his radar.
I see. In terms of track condition and length, any specific style that suits Quinault's racing more?
Well, he's
Or
won on good to soft and good to firm. I
Mm-hmm.
think anywhere in between is fine. He
Okay,
wouldn't want real extreme, so he wouldn't want it rock hard and he wouldn't want it very, very soft, I think. But anywhere in between, good to soft and good to firm is fine.
okay. Um, what have been some of the most emotionally rewarding and challenging moments in your career, both with Quinault?
Well, with Quinault, like I said, we've only had last season was the only season we've had with him.
Sure.
It was, as you say, it was quite emotional. We won the big handicap at Newmarket on July Cup Day. It's our hometown, it's our home track, it's their biggest meeting of the season, and it was a very exciting finish where he won by a nose. And the feeling that day was just brilliant. It's what we do it for. It's why we get up 4:30 in the morning every day to do this.
Excellent. Can you share maybe some extra, anecdotes that illustrate this bound, especially with him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very laid back horse in the stable. As I say, he got a reputation that he was trying to bolt and run away and stuff like that sort of thing. But he's very laid back in the stable, spends a lot of the time lying down. A lot of the time, don't know why he does it, but he manages to get his hay all over his head and
Oh, wow.
starts wearing it like a wig. So I've taken some really good photographs of him with his hair, with his hay all in his hair and all his ears and everywhere. He's quite a character.
If you could use 3 words to describe him, what would they be?
Um, he's tough, genuine, and honest.
Okay. Oh, well, great, great. And now I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about, your other stable,
Yeah.
stable stars especially. So could you tell us a bit more about them?
Yeah, well, so we've got a nice filly this year that won a listed race a couple of weeks ago called Pandora's Gift.
Mm,
She was second the first time she ran, but she's been unbeaten since then. So we've entered her to Royal Ascot as well. Um, she's owned by members of my family,
oh,
which
wow.
is really special to have my mum, my brother-in-law, and his 2 sons involved as well.
Wow.
So it's we didn't pay very much money for her, and she's been a real star for us so far. And I think she could, she won the listed race very easily, and she could step up to be a special filly for us. So we're looking forward to her very much. And we've also got we've got some nice handicappers rather than stakes horses. We've got a horse called Eminency that's might run on Derby Day this year that we hope will do well this season. We've got Existent, who has been a decent sprinter over the years, and he's had a long break, and he'll be coming back shortly. Probably be ready to run the end of June.
Excellent. Yeah, it seems very important to have, a mix of races and also time off, as you mentioned. It seems like many horses need to have this kind of balance.
Yeah, there's like it's a long season when you run for 12 months. So I
Sure.
think that we don't. So the Australian system, they spell the horses, they sort of race them for 3 months and then they rest them for 3 months and then do that again. And we don't usually have that in England. So we have a winter season and we have a summer season.
Mhm. Sure.
And usually you will have 2 different horses for each season. So you'll have some race on the winter and some race in the summer. Occasionally, when the circumstances dictate, you might run a horse through the winter and then it carry on running through the summer. But I think it's hard for them to run 12 months round and just keep running. They have to have some downtime.
Sure. Beyond Royal Ascot, what are your plans for the rest of the season for, both Quinault and also your other stable stars?
Yeah, well, so the plans for the handicap horses sort of write themselves. Basically, we try and get horses that are running in top handicaps throughout the year. We've got another horse called Lear Special that's just joined the stable, and he's owned in partnership with Racing TV. So the people who have subscribed to Racing TV get the opportunity to have a free share in Lear Special.
Oh, wow.
So he's got quite a number of owners. And he ran for the first time for us 3 weeks ago, ran a very nice race. We're looking forward to him running in the top sprint handicaps the rest of the season. The stakes horses, so Pandora's Gift, she will hopefully run at Ascot in the Group 1 Commonwealth Cup. And that, again, will dictate where she goes. There's the summer stakes at York in August for her. And then it's possible we might travel her as well. There's races in America that she could run in that would be quite high profile races with good prize money. And again, with Quinault, hopefully, if he runs well at Ascot, there might be opportunities for him to race abroad. We'd like to take him to Hong Kong and places like that if we could.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
From your perspective, how has racehorse training evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think the basics are the same. What's evolved enormously in the time that I've been in the industry is that the most important person in the yard 40, 50 years ago was the guy who made up the feeds, because we used to get just naked oats and then add bits of mineral supplements and everything like that, chaff, maybe a bit of sometimes they had linseed mashes. They used to have them twice a week, so they have a hot feed twice a week. Now all of that has changed now with the invention of the feed companies micromanaging what the intake of the horse has, and their specialists expertise at giving us exactly what the horse needs. So the feed man, who was the most important person, is now could be anybody as long as they can count 1 or 2 or 3 bowls. So that has changed enormously. So the actual nutrition the horses are getting has changed. The veterinary care the horses can have has changed enormously.
Wow.
You know, the hospitals here in Newmarket, we have 2 world-class facilities that are honestly better than the human hospitals. You know, if I go to hospital and want a blood test, it'll take me 2 weeks to get the result. If I want one of the horses' blood tests, I'll have the result back in 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of thing is, you know, it was unheard of 50, 60 years ago.
Sure.
But, you know, now that's commonplace and common practice. And then in the last 5 or 6 years, the biggest change is we're now using the GPS monitors, the heart monitors, so all of those on the horses while we're racing them. So while we're cantering, galloping, doing all the homework with them. So it's not just the trainer's eye. We've now got some physical data that we can have on the computer. We can go back and look at, and you can measure it against what they've been doing for the rest of the season, what they're doing now, if they're progressing, if they're slipping back, does stride length, number of strides per furlong, that kind of thing. So you can track a horse's progression much easier. I think it's given the opportunity to some people to train many more horses than you ever would have done before. The stables are now huge. The biggest stables are huge. Personally, I like to be a little bit more hands-on. We have 70 boxes here at Diamond Stables, and that's probably about the capacity. I wouldn't want any more. I wouldn't want horses at another base. So I'm not looking to train 200 horses, but we'd like, if we could get 60 or 70 and have some nice horses in that bunch, that's our aim.
Sure. That's the goal, I guess. Yes.
Yes.
Finally, on to the last questions. Are there any particular advancement or trends in the industry that you find, I mean, you did mention technology, I guess, that you find particularly exciting or beneficial?
Yeah, like I said, I think to be honest, I think the work the vets are doing is the most exciting stuff, because we can now, like I said, we know about training the bones early. We know that the best thing for the 2-year-olds is to get them working so their bones grow. So it's a good idea to get them working when they're bone. And we know all of this because the vets have told us through X-rays and through, we avoid getting sore shins now. With a very few of the 2-year-olds get sore shins these days because we know the programs to put them through so they don't get sore shins. It makes them bigger and stronger and stuff like that. I think is it's very important that we learn from these things, and the actual training of the horse hasn't actually changed that much. The gallops here at Newmarket have been here for over 300 years. They are the largest grassland area, managed grassland area in the world, and they are manicured just for us to gallop the horses on. So nothing else can happen to them.
Wow.
The grass, if we use it today, that will then move. They move it across, and that piece of grass then won't be used again till this time next year. So you know
Wow.
that's gone on here for 300 years, and that side of it hasn't actually changed that much. So going out on the gallops, what we actually do with the horses, but the veterinary stuff and the feed stuff, I think the next big kind of explosion, kind of following on from the human technology and science, will be gut. You know what's going on in the gut, where the horses have they can't be sick, so they have a system where everything has to go straight through,
Wow.
and it pushes it through quite quickly. And we're trying to get the most out of the food. So to know you can have one horse will be eating, I don't know, 18, 19 pounds of food, hard food a day, and look absolutely fantastic. He's fit and well. You'll have the horse next door will not look anything like, and he's eating exactly the same. And it'll be to do with the gut flora and how much nutrient they're getting out of the food that we're giving them. And we've made huge strides in this on the human front, but we haven't got there with racehorses yet. We always kind of a lag behind but we will get there. And that'll be another thing that we can. It's all how to keep them happy in their environment, so we can train them hard, so they can be the best athletes they can. And obviously feeding and vet wise is all part of it.
Excellent, excellent. Just a last question, more personal, I guess, than anything else. How do you feel about the future of horse racing, especially with the younger generation in the UK, I guess?
Yeah, it's difficult because it's only we've gone about 5 generations ago. Everyone had to know about a horse to get anywhere. If you wanted to go somewhere, you had to know about a horse or know someone who had a horse. And
Interesting.
5 generations later, now nobody has to know about horses. They're a luxury. We've got more and more people have no contact with horses at all. They live in the cities.
Wow.
And I think it's very important to try, if we're going to hold our position in society, we need to try and encourage those people to come to our stables, to have a look at the horses, to see how they are looked after, to get close to them and get a feel for what we do. That's even if they're going to the races, we need to get them close to the horses. We need them to understand that we are the guardians of the thoroughbred. The thoroughbred has never been wild. They're a man-made product, and we're their guardians. And I feel, it's all I've ever done. I feel privileged to work with these majestic animals, and they give me so much pleasure. And if I could show that to somebody else, I've had a good day.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Stuart, for the interview. That's great.
That's my pleasure. Good to speak to you.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of your day.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.